everyone, welcome to Beyond Borders, a talk show exploring different cultures around the world. I'm Sugi Lama and I'm from Nepal. Today our special topic is education and schooling systems, and we have three other beautiful guests around me who are also going to introduce themselves now.
Hi, my name is Greta Graves. I'm from the United States, and I am a master's student at the University of Southern Mississippi studying communication.
Hi, I'm David. I'm a biomedical science major from Nigeria.
Kanakadurga Pravalika Pedibotla, often referred to as PKD, to be at ease. I'm an international graduate student from India, pursuing my master's in public health here at the University of Southern Mississippi.
Okay, perfect. So for today, our special topic is education system and schooling system, like just all over the world. So first of all, like to give a background about Nepal, we have a regular K through 12 system because like Nepal was not actually like colonized ever, but it kind of was in a cultural sense. We receive a lot of like educational system from the UK, so it kind of relates to the British education system in a way. So after people like graduate, there's just a lot of stuff going on. But anyways, just to put it simply, like there's kindergarten and then all through class like 12, and then you go to college in different like ways. But unlike the US, you don't really do like pre-professional schools. So instead of doing like pre-law, you just go to law school outright for your bachelor's degree, or you do that for medical like sciences. You become a doctor after like doing a bachelor's degree or something like that. So it's more straightforward than American schooling system because you don't have to go to like undergrad and then go to grad school to be able to professionally pursue a degree. But I want to hear from like other participants, how does it look like in your countries?
We were colonized by the British. Nigeria was colonized by the British, so we do have a similar system to the British system, but some schools adopt the British system more than others in the same country, and then some schools just have like a kind of a duplicate, but they change a lot of things. So it's kind of K-12, but instead of K, it's nursery school, which is 2 years, primary school, which is 6 years or 5 years, depending. You can skip the 6th year, and then you have secondary school, which is 6 years as well. So primary school is primary 1 to 6. Primary 1 you probably start around age 4, 5. I think I started at 5, and then secondary school is also split into three different years. So the first 3 years are junior secondary school. The last 3 years are senior secondary school, which is where it starts to compare closer to like the American system or the actual British system, where we kind of have like high school. Because my school was called a high school, but the high school here was the 6 years in total, compared to like the American system, which I think is like 3 years or 4 years or something like that. And then if you're in high school, the first grade or the 7th grade is called junior secondary school 1. And you're usually around 12, 11, or 10. Some of my friends are at 10. I started at 11, I turned 12 in GS1, and they usually finish around 16, 17, 18, pretty much. But yeah, that's kind of a comparison between ours and British or American.
I never actually went to school in the United States until college. I know that's kind of interesting, but I think one very unique thing about the American school system, or at least in the United States, is the origin of decentralization, meaning individual states have a ridiculous amount of control over kind of the projection of education in that area, meaning certain curriculums are different, what you learn is different, how long you have to go to school, whether you're allowed to drop out at 16 or if you have to stay in until you graduate or turn 18 is different. So in the United States, it's so diverse, and in a lot of ways that's good. We have more opportunities for STEM or art-specific schools. We have more opportunities for trade schools after graduation, but again, I am a product of this decentralization, so I had the most non-unique experience, I would say, of all, which was being homeschooled. And I'm talking like hardcore backwoods boonies homeschooled. I was very lucky and blessed to have parents who cared very deeply about my education, and the lack of structure in Mississippi public schools was the reason I was homeschooled. But because of that, I grew up a little bit weird. I turned out a little bit awkward, but I did get a lot of educational benefit out of that. So typically, the kind of idea of American schooling is some people go to preschool, some people don't. It's not required. Kindergarten through, in most states, 11th grade is required, but if you turn 16 or 17 in some states, you can drop out. In some states, you have to stay until you're 18 or if you graduate early. And then you have the option for trade schools and college after that.
In India, I would say education is deeply woven into our culture. I mean, it's not just about textbooks, it's more than that. It's about shaping values, fostering our respect for knowledge and growing individually, also having a societal growth. It's celebrated at different levels in India. For example, festivals like Vasant Panchami that we have, it honors goddess Saraswati. She's the goddess of knowledge. It's celebrated by students and communities where education is not just by schooling, but then it shows how much it symbolizes how much we value learning, not just by schooling itself, but as in life. Also, I would like to add, education in India is highly competitive right from a younger age. It's more curriculum focused, exam centric, and it's heavily, relevant. Relies on your grades.
Yeah, like test grades are really important even in my country, in Nepal. Like borrows a lot from Indian education system too. I know for a fact that like after 10th grade, you can either choose to do A-levels, which is a British curriculum for high school, and then you can either like choose to go to college after that, like in the UK or because A-levels was taken and approved by mostly everywhere in the world, so people tend to do that, even in India, for instance. And there's also CBSE, which is the Indian board.
Right.
And because like the focus is not in like, oh, you're gonna like be able to go to medical school right after your high school, like there's a big emphasis on test scores and being able to get into school at all, and for undergrad, because it's like really expensive to be able to like pay your way through on like your high school, sorry. But seeing that like PKD mentioned about like Saraswati Puja is what it's called in Nepali, the education is just deeply woven in like all of our cultures in a way. Like it might be non-linear, or it might just be not as centric, or not as, oh, you have to do this. But I think in all of our cultures, like education is a priority somewhat. Like it's important that you go to school. It's not a option that you can't just drop out like at 13, for instance. But something that is interesting to me is like, Gerda, you talked about how your experience in the US was not like a regular like yellow school buses that would see in the movies kind of experience. How was that like in terms of coming to college and experiencing the regular quote unquote like education system?
Yeah, well, I did not fully become a person until college. Like I said, I had parents who went out of their way to try and put me in extracurriculars. But the thing about it is, most of my friends were from church. A few others were from soccer or dance or whatever I was doing, at a given point in my life. But that's almost like giving your kids inherent, like automatic friends, because they already have similar interests. When I got to college, I had this huge identity crisis, which I'm sure everybody does to a certain degree, and had to really discover what do I care about besides the extracurriculars that my parents assisted, besides friends that I made just out of convenience. Who am I? And so I think that was kind of a big leap for me, going from being very homeschooled, like just me and my brother at the kitchen table 8 hours a day, to constantly surrounded by people was a big leap as well.
Yeah, so as international students, how has your guys' experience been in the US? Like so different culture-wise, but also just education system, people.
I think personally I've liked the change, because like she said, India is pretty competitive, and Nigeria is kind of the same. It's something else. So coming here, like no offense to American system, it's not as competitive focused. I guess it's not a bad thing. It's more individualized. You have the initiative to make the most of your education. You know, go to office hours, do your assignments, and all that. While in Nigeria, it's more like if you don't do it, like it's pretty embarrassing. Like teachers could embarrass you for slacking off or being last in class or something like that. So I kind of it was kind of a shock to be more relaxed in class. Oh, like no one's competing. We're not all comparing test scores. We're not comparing exam scores. We're not all fighting for the teacher's favor or to get praised by a teacher. Everyone's just out there on their own path, trying to do their own thing, trying to be the best for themselves. And I think it was a good change. I do prefer it, not gonna lie, to back home. But at the same time, the system back home is not all bad. It instills a sense of me personally. Instilled a sense of independence. Like I don't need to be told or pushed because I've been pushed like for 12 years of my life to do well in tests and all. I don't need to be pushed right now. If I know I have a test, I'm gonna study. If I know I gotta do something, I'm gonna do it, education wise. So it definitely did give me some values that I can apply to this new system. But I would say I do like the system for sure.
My experience with American education so far has been enriching, I would say. I mean, there is a lot of differences with Indian education system and here, but then here the focus is more on collaboration, teamwork, discussions. I have come to appreciate it because it fosters critical thinking and the collaboration. I'm liking it. Initially, it was a challenge though. I was not. I mean, it was a shift for me to work on projects and kind of teamworks, all of it. But then, yeah, it was great so far.
Yeah, for me, like, it's just been very interesting because I grew up and then I just thought that I was going to go to medical school or either like become a dentist or like become a doctor or something. My dad is like in the military, so he like helps with people like climbing the mountains and stuff, and I could just easily go to medical school in the military, like grad school, but then I decided not to, and I think that's the best decision I made, like coming to the US, because now I'm majoring in CS and sociology, which is so different from like medical, but also like entirely two different things, which is what I really like about the American system, because I just get to choose like whatever I want to do, and I feel like I would rather just do everything and I want to be everyone and have like all kinds of skills than be like stuck in something that I didn't want to do at first at all. So I'm like kind of happy that I did that, and I'm excited. Like it's been really fun to be like interdisciplinary, do all these things, be involved. But also at the same time, like I kind of think about what would have happened if I was at home. Like I kind of it not in a way that I regret coming to the US, but I do definitely think about what would have happened if I stayed in my home country, if I knew the people around me, and if I spoke the language, if I didn't have to go through all of this to be, I don't know, able to get an internship or something. But yes, so as I was thinking about that, like what are your problems with like coming and studying in the US? Like has it been hard for you guys? What is the problems and complications you've faced so far in the school?
Personally, I wouldn't say I've had too many problems. I think the range of what I can do with education here has been like so much. There's so much you can do. Like you just said, you take classes, you can major in anything you want. And I haven't exercised that right just yet, but I will. I mean, like senior year, junior year, I'm gonna take like film classes and stuff I really like, not just science class I'm taking right now. But that opportunity, that choice, I think is it's just been really exciting to think about for me. So I wouldn't really say I've had too many problems. Like I'm just a sophomore, so my classes haven't been like crazy hard just yet. I do expect them to get hard soon or get harder soon, but I still think, like I said, despite its flaws, the system back home did definitely leave something in me to tackle whatever the American system can give me. But Yeah, I wouldn't say it's been too difficult switching over or adjusting. I think.
I would say, coming to the challenges, initially it was the English, the fast-paced speeches. It could be with different accents. It was challenging, but then I have made myself, following more of English media and engaging with conversations at campus. Also being here today, it was helpful. I mean, it was different because here it is more relaxed, interactive approach in classes. The classroom system is so different. Back then at home, it's more of a formal and independent learning, I would say. But then here it is supported and you get more guidance from your professors. But then it helps when I don't have help from here. I mean, the system that I had back home, it helps. Also for the person that I'm today, I think the competitiveness that was there had laid a strong foundation for me. The second thing would be balance of education, I mean the academics and the social activities. I mean there is a lot of things to be engaged here, but being an international student, to be able to juggle with everything is a bit challenging. That's the thing. But then I'm able to manage time well, I guess. So far it's been a learning curve, yeah.
Yeah, I agree that there's a lot really good about the American education system, and there's a lot really bad. I, of course, can't really compare it to any other country's experience, so this may not be super unique, but one thing I have picked up on over the years is while we do have what seems to be a partially very beneficial culture of it's okay if you don't go to college, the flip side of that is that we have started to become complacent in the idea that people who can't go to college fall into the same group as people who don't want to. We've turned education into a commodity that can be bought and sold, something that, like you were talking about within your own cultures in India, Nigeria, and Nepal, education is not only seen as like a right, but something that you need to do for your people, for your family, for yourself. And in America, I think we lose that a little bit. It's seen as a privilege to be educated past high school. And that is something that I think partially comes from this idea of, you don't have to go to school, which absolutely you don't. There's a lot of paths for different people, but it should be an option, and it's not for as many people as those who deserve it.
Yeah, especially, like, as you said, Greta, with arts and, people who want to pursue arts, like, just anything that's not considered traditional, like STEM majors. I think it's encouraged more all throughout the world, not only in the US. It's like, oh, you can go and get a degree and then you'll have a job. So pursue like STEM. Go to sciences, go to like technology related work instead of going and like doing what you really want to do. If it's like social sciences, humanities, like I'm really interested in history, but no one really said go and study history. But there's also this, it's expensive to go to art school, for instance, and it's like there's this element of how expensive art school can get for people who are like not as privileged, and a lot of people don't realize that in the US it's like a really big deal to like take out student loans just to be able to pursue school, and then you don't know if you're going to get a job. But also at the same time we like focus on jobs as a whole lot more, and to be able to like have financial stability, which is really important. But I think in this like course of action we forget to like go for our passion a lot of the times. In my experience, like I was interested in sociology, I was interested in politics a lot. I did some political like internships even in high school. I like used to go to protests all the time, and I was involved in feminist organizations in Nepal all the time. And then it was right in front of me what I was doing versus what I was studying. Comparatively, I was studying biology and that's way different than like what I had been doing. Like my actions showed something and what I was doing was different. So like, because that was never encouraged at home, what do you guys think? Like, has that been a problem for anyone? Because for me it's been like, it's like it was a split side of me. There was one side which was creative and wanted to do social justice work and wanted to go in the streets and say, okay, we all deserve equal rights, like despite our sexuality, gender, anything, and we need to like fight for it. And I'm ready to fight for it. But there's this other side, which is like you have to make money after you graduate school, so you need to go into biology or chemistry or something that's more reasonable, quote unquote. So has that been any of your experiences?
I think I can definitely relate to that. So the Nigerian secondary school system is kind of, especially the last 3 years. So you're split into 3 categories. You're either in science class, art class, or commercial class. So science class is obviously like STEM, like you want to be a doctor, you want to be a computer scientist, engineer, or whatever. Arts is mostly lawyers or politicians, and commercial is mostly people that want to go in business. But so they all have different classes, and they also have some like math. Everyone takes math. English, everyone takes English. Well, there are some classes that only arts will take, like an art class specifically. Only art students can take that class. And it's not like the American system where you can just add a class whatever class you want. So you have to take only science classes and some generic classes. So I love history. I love sports. I love film. So aspects of those, there are some classes that I would have loved to take, but I couldn't take them because I was in science class. So it was in an art class or a commercial class. But you can't like branch over, because I remember like one time, like when you were talking about it, your love for other fields that you couldn't really do. It just reminded me of one time I was in a art class, and it was a Christian religious studies class, and I like Christian theology too, but it's not something I could take in a science class. But they were taking it on. I got to sit down for just one class, and I really loved it, and I wished that I could switch over or do both. So, but yeah, it was definitely a challenge. Something I've experienced, and also just the stigma in Nigeria too about like STEM. Like, lawyers are still, so lawyers are fine. Like people still love lawyers for sure.
Everybody loves a lawyer.
Exactly, but if it's like like artists, like you want to be an artist, you want to be an actor, or you want to write books or stuff like that, it's not as highly regarded as STEM or lawyers or even business. People do like business, so there's definitely a stigma that pushes people to go to science class, even though their passions lie in the arts or commercial studies. And I think that it's not really great. You're stifling kids especially. But I'm glad to, once again, like I've said it before, I come here to just a range of things I could do, a range of classes I could take, no holds barred really. But yeah, so I'm excited for that for sure.
Yeah, that's like really one good thing, because now I can just go knock on my history professor's door and talk about like the history of the Middle Ages, I guess. Like
I'm in a history class right now even, so I love it. So yeah. My first history class too.
In India, I would say academic subjects like maths and science are more prioritized, and arts and creativity, these fields are backseated. But then it's different, unlike the ancient times where arts and creative field were highly revered. I mean, it was like there are great figures like Kalidasa in literature, someone like Tanzane in music. These fields were of great importance back then. I think right now, because of the competitive world and digitalization, all of it, the technical subjects are more prioritized. But in recent years, I see a cultural shift where the art and creative fields are back in game again, and they are being in the mainstream line. There is a growing demand for these jobs, and I mean, students nowadays are also choosing diverse career paths. So yeah, India is also taking a step ahead in art and creative fields.
Yeah, I think that is one thing that I think at least our college education system does pretty well is advertising diverse opportunities. Now, whether or not we can back that up in the real world and give you a job with that degree is something else. But I think we do, like, my senior year of high school, of being homeschooled before I actually went to college, I had no idea what I wanted to do. And I picked journalism because I liked writing, I liked social justice aspects of the world, and I wanted to produce something impactful. And honestly, I didn't want to be an English teacher. But yeah, I think that is something that the fact that I had the opportunity to pursue what is a pretty hyper-specific career, at least nowadays, of digital journalism was my actual degree, is a good sign on the culture. However, I don't know that we always give you a job with that degree. That is another question. But even still, I would say that is not wholly accepted in the United States, in that I still tell myself to this day, if I had to go back and redo my bachelor's degree, it'd probably be in film studies. Because I picked something that was a bridge between where I could get a job and actually working with the creatives and writing and operating a camera. But if I didn't have to worry about that, I think I would have taken a step even further. So there's always that thought in the back of your head on, this has to be feasible long term. This has to support the rest of my life. But there are still opportunities for that I think is helpful, at least in some states of the U.S. Some states are certainly better than others.
Closing this up and transitioning to something else, what did you guys think that you learned about each other's culture today, or something that really surprised you?
I wouldn't say it was really new, but it was kind of reinforced about how we're in Africa, Nigeria's in Africa, and then India is South Asia, or Asia, sorry, I'm not sure if it's South, but Asia, no, it is South, yeah, so Asia, and then, you know, the systems are kind of similar, some themes are similar, but I was really happy to hear how she's proud of how her country is, evolving, leaving some certain things in the past. And I think Nigeria is doing the same, and that's just like two different countries, you know, both colonized by the British. But it's just really interesting to hear that. And it was the singing and dancing thing was kind of a new thing for me. I think that's kind of fun because we do singing a lot too, like choir and stuff like that, like church choir or school choirs. But singing and dancing, I didn't know it was such a big thing in India or Nepal. But yeah, that was a new thing that I learned for sure.
I kind of learned a lot about my own school system in comparison to you guys. Again, I didn't grow up in that system until I got to college, and I guess one big takeaway is I always knew, you know, football's big here, art school's big here, but I guess in comparison, it is really interesting to see just how academically focused certain countries are compared to others who are almost experience focused. I think that's a really cool thing to hear about, to learn how different countries operate on more specific curriculums and look for more specific results versus how other countries do it. That's very interesting to me.
I think I could relate to most of the conversation. I mean, Nigeria, Nepal, I mean, we share similar educational systems, but yeah, being said that, American educational system is different. My final takeaway would be this was not my cup of tea, so that's what I'm doing nowadays is going a step out of my way and being here and making it work out.
Yeah, for me, I think something that I thought about as we were like conversing was how it would not be possible to be able to like share our ideas and talk in general if it was not the product of the language itself, English, which colonized all of us, even including the Americas itself. But like to be able to use the language of our colonizers and to be able to like share our like culture, just like our ideas and I don't know, like everything in general, and be able to share our lives in general is very meaningful and touching to me. If you want to see yourself sitting on this chair and sharing your thoughts, please feel free to sign up using the link in the bio and follow SM2USM and ISSS at USM for more updates. Please share how your education system in your country is, and hope you have a good day.